Oh boy, I'm excited. It's like Christmas. One of my favorite guests is here, and he has so much good shit. I know. See, I got to put the R rating on the podcast. I have a feeling he's probably going to drop some maybe F bombs anyway. So let's just do it up. Sorry, sponsors in advance. Presenting sponsors, you're right. Thank you to our presenting sponsors. Canine Cruise is the place to take your pet. They offer dog and cat boarding, dog daycare, pet retail, and mindful day school. Tons of indoor space and a spacious yard. Canine Cruise is your one-stop shop for professional pet care in Chicago. Bark Pouch makes 5 mess-free lickable treat recipes in 2 sizes for a delightful time with your dog. Their grab-and-go pouches make perfect gifts for the dogs on your holiday list. For more, go to barkpouch.com. Kiki's Corner Natural Pet Foods in downtown Winfield, just a block south of CDH Hospital and the railroad tracks. Kiki's has all your food and health aid needs for dogs and cats. Kiki's Corner for a healthy, happy pet. Thank you, sponsors. I appreciate it. Without further ado, Pete is here. Pete has been on the podcast before, I believe once on video and once when we were just doing audio. Pete, hello. So nice to see you again. Hey, thank you so much for having me back. I'm very happy to be here. Yeah, whenever you send me an email, I'm like, yes, book it. We're doing it. That's so great. That's so great. You know, you have so many different guests. I really appreciate the variety of guests you have and how very recently you had people on about barnyard animal rescue, as they put it. Yeah. I learned so much from that. I know. And I know that's very close to your heart. I should also note, because as you say, a variety of guests, my first guest when I relaunched the podcast was Peanut the Squirrel, who is right now dead, unfortunately, which is very sad. But like the whole fact that was my first podcast guest, and he had already been very popular, but now he's like very popular because he unfortunately got taken from Mark, his owner, who was a terrific guest and saved that squirrel's life. That is a whole nother thing. Pete, we're here to talk about puppy mills, which leaves me shaking. I know you and I have talked before that I got one of my first dogs from a puppy store, and now I do everything that I can to spread the word about how awful they are. So first, take us into what you do. Okay, again, everybody, a disclaimer. We are not going to know everything because we can't, because he has to keep doing his job. But if you can kind of give us an overarching umbrella of what you do and a little bit about what you're going to tell us is happening currently. Absolutely. And first off, I'm so fucking glad I can cuss on this podcast. This shit is great. Thank you for that. I've done animal cruelty investigations since 2001. Half my career has been dogs, and that's everything I investigate is commercial animal abuse. So for dogs, that means puppy mills, pet stores and puppy mills. And I do work for the Companion Animal Protection Society, Humane Society of the United States. And a lot of what I do for CAPS, the Companion Animal Protection Society, is this very specific thing. I go to pet stores and I will ask them, hey, where do your puppies come from? What are the breeders like? And then they'll tell me, they'll give me a story and they'll show videos of and it's dogs and puppies running in grassy fields and all this. They'll be like, these are homes where people love their dogs and all this. And then I go to the actual breeders that supply them and film the actual conditions, which are totally different than what pet stores claim. Where things stand now is that there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation out there about the breeding industry and the puppy mill industry. And the Amish are really taking over lately. Petland is doing great, and they're working increasingly with a lot of just Amish puppy mills out of Indiana and elsewhere in the Midwest. If you don't know anything about the Amish, if you've seen the show The Office and you've seen Dwight's cousin Mose, it's basically it's pretty different from that. But the Amish are they're people who they typically shun technology, but they also kind of use technology. Like they'll use cell phones for work.
right? They don't have cars, but they'll let you give them a ride to work. They don't have websites, but they'll let you put their puppies online, right? And they have become very heavily integrated into the puppy mill industry. Basically, it's that, they have this belief, this Christian belief that, working with your hands is godly, working with the earth is godly. So that includes crops, vegetables, anything like that. It also includes animals, right? Like getting covered in animal shit is not a bad thing. That means you're living a godly life, being humble, working with the earth. The thing is, you can have a few cows or some hogs, right? It's a lot of work. It produces a lot of shit. You got to clean up. You got to do all that. Or you can have a lot more dogs in the same amount of space and get a higher price per head when you breed them. And they figured this out. And while they tried to not be worldly, as they put it, and not engage with the outside world, they ended up very heavily engaging with the outside world because they have begun breeding, selling online, selling to pet stores, including Petland, and getting USDA licenses for their businesses. And the images like that you're showing now, these are like, I personally took these images. These are Amish puppy mills. If you go to pet stores, they'll show you Amish people, like I say, where dogs are running and playing in fields, and it's just not true. Like I've seen some of those fields and there's not dogs in them, right? It's these actual places that you're showing right now that you can see where it's dogs in little wire cages or dogs that are in pens where they're pacing and running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth because, they've gone cage crazy. So that's basically the state of where things are now.
I mean, when you look at these pictures, it's horrifying to think that animals live in these conditions. Yeah. And I know that we have talked a little bit about this before, just how angry you must be, but you've been doing it so long. I think like the first question I have is like, how good does it feel when you actually can do something about it?
Well, okay. The thing is, it's tough to answer because it is extremely rare to shut a puppy mill down. The problem is that there are places where I've seen illegal cruelty, but to actually get them shut down for that, very difficult. Usually they get a chance to clean it up. Often it's that if they have a government license, law enforcement doesn't understand that what could be a cruelty violation is handled by them, even if it's already a USDA violation, that USDA doesn't have jurisdiction over a state cruelty code. Law enforcement tends to be like, let the USDA handle this. I don't want to deal with it. And then the USDA have this dual responsibility. One, enforce the Animal Welfare Act. Two, ensure the health of the industries that fall under the Animal Welfare Act. But how do you do both things? How are you strict about enforcing regulations and nailing the bad actors while at the same time making sure that the industry they're in is very healthy? You can't do both. So they pick one, right? I mean, it's virtually never does anyone have their license suspended or revoked by the USDA. So the victories that I see are like when we get states and cities, to pass legislation that prevents puppies from being sold at stores. That is one of the biggest things that can fight against the puppy pipeline because, a lot of people, they go to a pet store and they're like, oh, this is expensive, but they otherwise wouldn't buy from a shady person selling out of their van or someone they don't know online. But at the pet store, oh man, someone's face to face with them, showing them a video. Look, it's dogs running in grassy fields, giving you a health guarantee, right? Telling you they got financing. I've worked undercover at a pet store, and part of my job, I'm going to hell for this, but part of my job was I had to sell puppies to people. And I remember having to sell a puppy to a guy. He walked in just to look at puppies, and he walked out with an 8-week-old schnauzer to give to his fiance that he was not planning on bringing home. And I Fortunately, he didn't bring that puppy back, but I will never forget that and feel terrible about that to this day. But that's the job when you work at a pet store, because you get commission, right? They want to pump those puppies out. Like I've seen it myself working at a pet store. Like they'll have puppies in the back that are sick and they'll wipe the snot off their noses and be like, whatever, they got a health guarantee. Just get them out the door. Give me my commission money.
Yeah. And the financing is insane, by the way.
Yeah.
The percentage rate on the financing, but that if you don't have the money to get a puppy, no problem. They'll rope you into the financing. You'll be paying for that puppy for years because of the financing.
And they'll lie to you too. Like for example, they'll lie to you often about how much you could ask. Go and be like, hey, you got financing. What's the APR? What's the interest? They often don't know what the difference is, or they'll lie to you about how much it is. I went to a Petland. This is online on the CAP's website. Right. So I'm not making this up. There was a Petland manager that when I asked him about financing, he's like, hey, it's not like having a car. It's not like if you can't pay for the puppy, they can do anything to you. Right. I mean, it's like they can't take anything from you. That's a lie. They can sue you. Mm-hmm. They can absolutely take money from you if you don't pay for the puppy. So they'll just say whatever gets the puppy out the door.
Unbelievable. Also I wanted to mention, because on the CAPS website, it's actually really cool because you can see some really amazing video. And I think you and I had talked before about, documentaries and like exposing this so more people see it. What are your, do you think if you throw this in people's faces constantly, or documentary style, or which I believe that you've done before,
yeah,
does it do anything? Will it ever do anything? Can we stop humans from buying from Petland and all of these puppy stores? Is that possible, even to really like cut it off at the head instead of having to go, back all of these layers to stop it, and really like trust local government and agencies to stop it?
So I think it is possible on this issue specifically, and maybe only this issue for right now. The documentary Underbelly that I had mentioned before, that's still in the works. What they've decided to do is expand it to a feature-length documentary. So instead of them wanting to just put it out as a short doc, they're going to try and lengthen it. So it's going to take more time and cost more money. But I'm very happy with that. I think that'll increase the chances that then a major network would take it. More people can see it. The message gets out. The reason that I'm more hopeful about something happening on puppy mills than I am with other things is that obviously right now we are in a time of massive political upheaval. And, this country is divided in a way that has shocked us, but I get to live in both worlds, right? I'm like the super liberal guy and I'm hanging out with activists part of the time. And then I go out and I'm undercover and I'm with people that are very conservative. And when I deal with law enforcement, very conservative, right? And I get to really be in both worlds. And when it comes to dog rescue, I would say about half the people I deal with are super, super, super Republican conservative. The other half are super liberal. You don't see that in a lot of other issues. People will say that in the animal world, people actually agree on a lot. I think one statistic that a lot of animal rights groups like to throw out there is like 70% of people can agree that animals should not be treated cruelly. Yeah, bullshit. Because like people know that animals used for food are treated very cruelly, but you don't want them to be treated cruelly. But a lot of people don't really want to know a whole lot necessarily about clothes or medicine or food. And I get it. I'm not trying to make any listeners feel bad, but the reality is you might say, I don't want that. But then when you go to the grocery store, what is it that you do, right? Versus dogs. We say we don't want dogs to come from puppy mills. And then a lot of people, when they're like, I'm going to get a dog, they actually do something about it. It doesn't matter whether you voted for Harris or Trump, right? There's a lot of people that are like, let me look at the animal rescue, right? Like, let me see what someone has to say about where this dog has actually come from. It's like the one issue that unites us. And that makes me a little more hopeful for change with it.
That was so effing interesting. Like just that whole, it's so true, because here too, the rescue community is totally split. I've had to do a lot of cleaning on my Facebook and Instagram last week. It's just kind of like, what just happened? Like
Yeah.
what just happened? It's crazy. I do think though. Okay, so in Chicago right now, we have a real big problem because we have a mayor that doesn't give a shit about animal control. Cut the
Yeah.
budget, cut hours of staff, cut hours to volunteer, cut hours for adoptions. What are those people going to do that were adopting from animal control? They're going to go to the puppy store because
Yeah.
they can't get a dog now from animal control. So
Yeah.
when you shoot yourself in the foot, what do you expect? So you're so right. Like it has to be, you got to be all in. And for somebody to, like the mayor, to do that to Chicago Animal Control, where there's already a nationwide crisis, because he's too busy going off to Vegas and spending money on other things.
Yeah.
It will drive you crazy if you think about it too much, especially for people that have put so much work into the animals there. For years, I was a volunteer, with the transfer team, getting animals to rescue. We're showing people adoptable dogs. And when you have rescues and shelters that turn away adopters or put up roadblocks for people to adopt dogs, the first thing they're going to do is go and get a breed specific puppy from Petland.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a big thing. There's, it sucks that on the other hand, there's people that like that, that's a Chicago thing. You see that in Los Angeles, you see that in Miami-Dade, you see that everywhere in major areas where it's like some of the local people that are running things, they just don't necessarily care. And even if they do care, they may not necessarily understand how it works. For example, one of the biggest hurdles that I face when I'm trying to help get legislation passed to stop stores from selling puppies, kittens, and rabbits from breeders is that cops and animal control officers will say to me, "Look, Pete, if we want this to be regulated. If it's not, they're going to go to the black market sales." And I fucking hate that. Like, it was a big LA Times article about that recently, but about all the black market sales in California. The thing is, that has always been there. Mm-hmm. I see that shit, the unregulated breeders. I mean, you can go to the CAP site for this too. I just documented a shitload of unregulated breeders, a bunch of them in Texas, to support legislation to try and regulate more of them. It's that, as one breeder explained it to me, it's not that it's that when COVID happened, everybody got into dog breeding to make money, and the prices then plummeted. So people then had to get a lot more dogs and breed a lot more puppies, and the market got flooded. It's just that in California, when the legislation passed to ban the sale of puppies from pet stores, it coincided with COVID, and then everyone thought there's a giant black market that sprung up because of this, and that's not true. You're also seeing that these laws are passing, and there's less euthanasia of animals at shelters across the country, and that's because we're all connected in the rescue movement, right? It's like, the Chihuahua that my girlfriend and I have was from Texas, but had to go to New York to go to a rescue to be adopted, right? Because all the shelters are just that full. So and then just like you say, when you have local politicians that won't help out people, animal control facilities won't help out, suddenly all the rescues have to step up all that more. And in a time, not to make it sound just too fucking terrible, but in a time when there's an increasing amount of natural disasters, and that means more animal rescue and more people having to pull animals away from the coast into more shelters, inland. So it's tough. It's fucking tough. And we need reason and we need logic used on this. Fuck, I don't have an answer for that in this country.
So I think I ask you this every time, but I mean, you've become like an actor, right? I mean, you have to go in and act, and you're obviously good at it. I mean, see on the videos, but how? And I think I know the answer, but how stressed do you get? Maybe like the day before, hours before, a few minutes going in, knowing you need information.
My first case was a place that was selling it was USDA licensed to sell dogs and cats to research labs that they didn't breed themselves, and so a lot of them were stolen pets. Wow. And I worked undercover at that place for almost 6 months, and I felt fine. I was in North Carolina and I was driving into Arkansas to do the job, and I felt fine. But once I crossed the border into Arkansas, it suddenly occurred to me, I was like 22 or some shit, like it occurred to me, oh shit, I know what I'm about to do. And that's when I got nervous. And then after that, it would be like, I'd be good until I leave for the job. And sometimes it would be like, I'd be nervous until I'm pulling up on the property. And now it's not so bad, because I've been to like probably over 1,000 puppy mills by now. Like this is my whole life. This is my whole thing. This is what I do. I would say though that, I'm a little more nervous with the political division in this country, that after there's a presidential debate, after anything like that, I've seen people respond differently to me. I walked up into a guy's driveway once and I had a question for him, and he was near puppy mills. He wasn't even the puppy miller. And I pull up and I thought, surely it's going to be okay here, right? Like it's in a suburban neighborhood. The garage doors open, giant American flag in the back of the garage, and I got a camo cap. I'm like, I'll fit in. He walks out before I can approach him and goes, "You should not have come here. You came to the wrong house." I'm like, "Whoa, I just want to ask you something." And he goes, "No, I'm going to deal with you right now." Right? Like I don't know who he thought I was or what he thought was happening, but he didn't want me on his property. He's like, "You're not going to step on my property. You're not going to do that." And I think I said something to the effect of like, "Whatever the fuck you're doing, I'm not here for that. So don't make me call the cops on it." And that like jolted him back, like, oh shit, like maybe he thinks I'm cooking meth or something, right? So I got in my car, and when I left, he stood there for a second and then looked at me and jumped in his truck to tear after me. So when I got to an intersection, this is kind of irresponsible, but I knew I could pull it off. I looked and there was a truck coming, and I didn't like go dangerously in front of him, but I peeled out to put him between us, and this guy, couldn't get to me. But shit like that, where, where you see that people get shot for pulling into someone's driveway now. Mm-hmm. That's what makes me more nervous, is that Americans don't trust each other anymore. And, hey, what am I supposed to say? I'm literally spying on these people. I'm literally spying on them and then showing what they're doing to dogs to the rest of the world. So yeah, they're pissed off about it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you have to be so quick on your feet. Like you've just got to be, whatever this person says, I gotta, I'm sure it's like a script all the time, but it is incredible work that you do. I'm so grateful. I love catching up with you. I know that you can't talk a lot about, what is upcoming, but I know, what you've just done is amazing. What do you think is the worst state that you've seen? Is it southern states?
Okay, so it's the Midwest is the home of the puppy mills. Damn, that's a good question. They're all fucking bad. Because they're all the same. They all learn from each other. They all do the same stuff. It's like I've done stuff in Indiana recently. Was in Michigan not too long ago, but it's like, everywhere I go, it's like I see like if I look through old footage, unless I recognize the place and I just see a puppy mill, I have no idea where it is. I'm like, wait, where was that place? Was that Pennsylvania? Was that Kansas? And I mean, it's all the same. It's I don't think there's any one state that's like, we're really cracking down on our puppy mills. Fuck no. It's all the same.
Which it's really sad. And I know I've talked about this on this podcast, and definitely with you. I grew up in Pennsylvania, which, I mean, our neighbors had a puppy, basically what was a small puppy mill, cages. Then really there's no such thing as a small puppy. It was a puppy mill. It doesn't matter how many.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It just wasn't, when you think of bigger, like a doodle type puppy mill, it was just, a few dogs. But awful conditions, and when you're young and living in Lancaster County, you have no idea what is right until you grow up. And, this is things that I just thought were normal, and it's not normal at all.
That's the thing. That's what's crazy. That is normal in Lancaster County and Berks County, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is fucking normal. I mean, I would say that things have gotten a little better after legislation was passed in Pennsylvania to clean up some of the puppy mills. The conditions did get somewhat better, but it's still puppy mills and dogs spinning in cages or not, and they're on the ground pacing, in their pens and stuff. But I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember back in like 2005, going and hitting all those places where it was even worse. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, dogs with like blocks of ice instead of water in their water dishes. Actually saw that not too long ago. That's still a thing. But dogs that are so matted, you don't know who they are. You can't even, you can't see the dog's eyes. You don't know how the dog's seeing out. Yeah. I know what you mean.
It's awful. I mean, that's a perfect example. The other thing too is we have rescues actually in this area that take puppy mill rejects. So, they take basset hounds that have, I don't know, they can't sell it because it's got a weird ear or and there's a market for it. And there are rescues in our area that get mad that they're taking from the Amish puppy mill crew. But and you have something to say on this, because if they didn't take the dogs from the puppy mills, these reject puppy mill dogs, they probably would euthanize them.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that the puppy mills, what they'll do, which, by the way, if you go to Petlands will tell you, we take the dogs, and they're fucking lying. They'll say that, and they're fucking lying. I've been to a couple where they actually had a dog that was a breeder, and then asked to see that dog. If you walk into a Petland and be like, let me check that dog out. Those dogs are terrified. They have no idea what's going on. They don't know what toys are. They don't know how to act when you pet them. They just stand there and do nothing. Like, they don't know how to be a dog. And saying they rescue them all is an absolute lie. They will give them to rescues, but if they can't do that, they shoot them. And again, go to the CAP's website. I have video of that I've had several breeders tell me that. And one, he put it very clearly. He's like, you're supposed to go to a vet. They give them 2 shots, one to put them out, one to kill them. That's a lot worse than a 22 right there. I'll tell you, as an Amish guy saying that to me. But I've seen that working at an Amish puppy mill where dogs would get to the point of death, and then they'd be off for someone to, one of the owners, to shoot them in the head. And the thing is that the Amish, puppy millers in general, all puppy millers, it's that then they rely on rescues to take care of these dogs that, like when you show those pictures up that were up of some of these dogs, right? Some of them, it's like, okay, you see there's a dog, but are they otherwise okay? Man, if you could get that dog and then you could actually hold them and look in their mouth, their teeth are rotting out of their heads, right? Their skin is an absolute mess. Sometimes their teeth are so bad that it's caused additional problems, including infections that can cause heart murmurs. I got a dog out of a puppy mill that exactly had happened to, a little Chihuahua, Emma. And so teaching them how to be dogs, what toys are, what music is, what a leash is, what car rides are, what the fucking grass is, like any of that, and taking care of their physical well-being, all of that then falls onto rescues, and the puppy millers don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, which I've had dogs like that too, and it is absolutely heartbreaking. And if you can repair them, I mean, dogs are so resilient. It's just shocking what they can go through and still come out as somehow a dog. And it's not easy. It takes months, weeks, years, sometimes multiple years. So, Pete, anything else that you want to promote?
The only thing that I want to say is, you can check out my book, Rescue Dogs. And I would also like to say that I know that there's a lot of people out there. You probably have a lot of listeners. Well, maybe they have a couple dogs. They occasionally breed them. I understand you love your dogs. You're not a bad person. I just want to say that today, in the world that we live in, where there's dogs dying at shelters everywhere, wherever you are in America, there's dogs dying at a shelter nearby. And with more and more animals that need to be rescued because of natural disasters, the time is now just to adopt. If you love animals, you don't profit off of them. You rescue them. Everybody rescue.
Mic drop. Mic drop. Bang. Hey, as always, a brilliant guest. Thank you for your knowledge. The stuff that you can tell us is so great. It's amazing. Keep up the great work. We'll always be cheering you on. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you. Take care.
Everyone, Pete, follow. Here's again are the two websites. Go to the caps-web.org because, oh boy, that is some great shit there. And also humanesociety.org, obviously. Does amazing work. You probably all know them. Supporting sponsors. Thank you. Thank you to the following supporting sponsors. Kimberly Kingen Photography. Give the gift of joy this holiday season and memorable moments of furry loved ones with a gift card for Kimberly Kingen Photography. For more details, visit her website at www.kimberlykingen.com. The Canine PT is Chicago's highest rated dog physical therapy clinic, and they are dedicated to enhancing the lives of your four-legged companions as they age or when recovering from an injury. Give the gift of pain relief and extended mobility to your furry friends this holiday season. They offer a discount for rescue dogs. For more information, visit thecaninept.com. Anything is Possible is Chicago's premier dog training company. They offer group classes for every single stage of your dog's life. They have a talented team of behavior specialists to work through any issues that need modification using positive reinforcement. Thank you, sponsors. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. See you next time. Bye.